This is a football game between Rockville High School and Richard Montgomery High School, taken early in the fall, and it was a contest that basically was won by Rockville. It was a home game for Rockville, and they had the better day, of course, against Richard Montgomery. The event was, I was stopped there on my way to shoot a Quince Orchard High School football game, which was out at Lake High School. So I stopped on the way, got a couple shots before halftime, and then was on my way. It was a good game. It was a very good game. And the halfback had a marvelous night on the field. But this was just one of those shots where you were shooting, and it was a kind of a good evening shot for it. Obviously, in the shot itself, it's you can't tell who's got the advantage here, and so it was kind of a good for both teams.
We are here in the Glenview mansion of Rockville, Maryland, and we are celebrating one of the opening events of our 150th anniversary of our incorporation. So Rockville is now a sesquicentennial city of incorporation. And we're very excited because we have a wonderful collection of people here. Lots of folks in gray hair, which means that they remember the city 50 years ago, which is tremendous. And we have a wonderful exhibit here on the second and a half floors of the mansion. People are invited to come see it. It's very exciting, very different, very interesting.
Well, I think that the 150th Task Force has done a great job of combining then and now pictures. And the now pictures, of course, are all over the city that we know today, in the new town center, in the neighborhoods, in the commercial areas, and so on. And the then pictures are matched up with those. So you can see Congressional Plaza as it is today. You can look at it as it opened in 1959 and 1960, and you can go back to when it was an airport just 30 years before that.
Working with Colleen McQuinty and other people on the task force, we decided to organize a photo exhibition held by residents of Rockville. In addition to the photos that were submitted by the residents, we also wanted to do a then and now exhibit, so I went and took various pictures throughout the city of communities and areas where Peerless Rockville had photos from, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, and I took the photos to match them up with what Rockville looks like today. From what I see from folks walking around, it's, everybody's interested in the exhibit, and actually I found it very interesting going around Rockville to some neighborhoods I had never seen before, and diverse architecture, and I looked for some of the older structures that I didn't even know were here, but it was pretty fascinating to do. The city has really grown substantially, pretty much even in the last 50 years it's grown. And look just what's happened in Rockville Town Center in the last 6 or 7 years, and communities like Falls Grove and King Farm that are totally different compared to the way the city used to be years ago. So I think it's interesting for people to see it.
Well, we have a bunch of different programs that are going to be going up. The number one thing is March 10th is the actual anniversary of the 150th. So we're going to have a big event in Town Square, a big ceremony, as well as some fireworks in Town Square. So that'll be exciting.
We are putting the last of a publication to bed about the history of Rockville's government over the 150 years, and doing that in increments of looking at 1860 when the town, not the city, when the town was incorporated, looking to 50 years from that, looking to 100 years from that in 1960 when Rockville as a city celebrated its centennial, and how it's celebrating it today, and what that has meant to the city and the town of Rockville and to the people. Why do we care if it's incorporated, and how has that affected the history of Rockville and what we are today? So that's the publication, and that will be out in early March. And on March 14th, on Sunday, in the F. Scott Fitzgerald Theater, I'll be presenting a lecture, and it's a friendly lecture on the history of Rockville's government and looking at Rockville at the time of its sesquicentennial, but looking again, starting at 1860 and looking back from then on. It's interesting how when you first come to a place, you move into a place, and that's where your history starts. And you're not aware that all these things went on before you. And in the case of someone moving into Rockville today, the history started here, at least the recorded history, and the settlement started 250 years ago. So there's an awful lot of history here, and it's in every part of town. No matter where you happen to be standing in the city of Rockville today, there's an historic place, there's a site of an historic event, something is within 10 minutes of where you can walk.
I think roots are extremely important to us. And the way you remember them, the way you teach your children about them, is to tell stories and to see pictures and point out your relatives. If you've got pictures of them, I wish I had more of mine. And remember that we are one great big giant family. We've just lived in a lot of places. Please come and see this exhibit. You will find it enlightening and fun.